Hey gang, welcome back to Directionally Speaking. I'm Jeff Zentz, Senior Director of Innovation for Agronovis, Indiana, and we're here to continue the conversations we've been having with participants in this year's Velocity program to learn more about their path, their journey, and their businesses that are competing to win that big grand prize at the end of this program. I'm joined today by Alec Brewer of Ourobio. And Alec, I would love to turn it over to you to give a little bit more information about Ourobio and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, well, again, I really appreciate the opportunity, Jeff, and hello, everyone. I'm Alec. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Ourobio. I'm excited to tell you a little bit about our work today. So Ourobio is a synthetic biology, biomaterials, and circular economy startup. It was spun out of an undergraduate research project. I was fortunate with my co-founders to have the chance to work on a couple of years ago. And our mission is to accelerate the adoption of biomaterials and their underlying biomanufacturing technologies, ultimately advancing the ag bio economy that you probably heard some of the other candidates and interviewees talk about. In doing so, or in addressing that mission, we really have two primary activities. The first is in developing our own fermentation technologies to produce biomaterials. Think of it like brewing beer, big steel tanks, except instead of brewing ethanol and alcohol and all the flavors that that appeal to you in any fermented drink, we are producing materials which serve as plastic alternatives. In addition to producing these materials, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we think is special about our process in a bit. We're also working with our customers, plastic converters and brands, to get more acquainted with biomaterials and the circular economy. And we're doing so in brokering, consulting, and actually collaborating on the development of some biodegradable compounds and products with with those groups. So,
That's
Jeff, back to
awesome.
you for the next question,
That's
probably.
great, Alec. So yeah, let's dive in there. So you mentioned kind of came out of a research project and came. So this is, you guys are also an exciting piece of academia that comes to the commercial world. What have you always been entrepreneurial? Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur, or did that kind of develop as you were doing that project? What did that look like for your journey?
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it was probably something that's kind of in my blood or in my family, as people have told me, as well as something that emerged pretty early on in my college career, and I think was realized for the first time in working on this project. Which, just to give it some context, was part of a competition called iGEM, which I mentioned, well, maybe not only to give it context but because it's an awesome organization, gives students the opportunity to solve world problems using synthetic biology, and ultimately led me and us to the hypothesis of using it for healthier and more sustainable materials.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit more of the story. I actually found my way to this research team and to the entrepreneurial community at UVA, which was extremely supportive, even in or especially in those earliest days. Through an early conversation with a mentor and entrepreneurial advisor at UVA, and it was shortly after that conversation that I'd started chasing down the opportunity to work on different startup projects, and then eventually on this research team. Um, the I keep talking about the research team, but this one's special because it's a really independent project. It's not led by a professor as it's ordinary. We have some advisorship, but it's really a student-led project. And sorry to go on so long, but looking back, where I say it's something I stumbled into, I'd tried flipping sneakers in high school. I was a sneakerhead, and so buying and reselling, just trying to get the next newest and nicest pair. And I never really thought of that as entrepreneurship. It was just my hobby or passion, and I was horrible at it. I think I lost money, but it made for a great college essay, and ultimately, led me into the room that led to everything else I just told you about. So
That's awesome, and what an interesting piece, because some of these materials that you're able to now make using this process can be used for things like sneakers and other things that are like that. So it's a little bit of full circle then that way.
it is, and I can't say too much, but it it's yeah, it's seeing its way to fruition. And I'll even, I mean, hey, I'll shout out one of our competitors who's actually working with Allbirds and has their material in Allbirds sneakers. So it's something we're pretty excited about. Yeah.
That's awesome, Alec. So let's talk a little bit about your like experience as an entrepreneur at this point. Like you've come from the research team, you now have a company with product that can go to market. Like what have the challenges been like as an entrepreneur? Like if you knew something now that you would have liked to have known back then, like what are those things that you've learned over the course of the last few years?
Oh man. Well, I'm sure like most the list here is pretty extensive. Um, and I want to be say it lightheartedly, but I want to be careful in what I say here, because had I known these things, I don't know where we'd be today.
Sure.
But I think again, very lightheartedly, I think the main thing is just how long it takes.
Hmm.
Um, did I and actually not to correct you, but did I think 5 years into the journey that we would still be working at the bench top and advancing to a product that's commercially ready? No, I thought we would be well beyond and into the market.
For sure.
But that is where we are today. So I think, well, one thing I did know about myself and knew about this journey is the grit and determination that it would take, and that I thought, and I question it all the time, but I thought at least I was it was worth giving myself a try, and I might be able, capable of those things. In terms of actual, challenges that have I think bottlenecked or slowed our business down, I again joke a little bit about the transition to commercialization, but especially well, the next major milestone that we've been chipping away at for a long time is to do our kilogram scale pilot, produce those larger quantities of material that can get the stamp of approval, and ultimately a TDS created to take it to market.
Sure.
But that's for many in our space what's referred to as the chicken and the egg problem. That's probably not a new concept. But addressing that challenge has been particularly hard in the markets that uh, capital markets and fundraising environment that has been for the last 2 to 3 years, pretty much right when we got to the point at which we'd be ready to to raise funding to support that activity. So, um, yeah, I mean, I can share some more if you'd like. I think maybe those are some small insights and others that I think will resonate with anybody listening.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it is definitely resonates with somebody who works with a lot of founders. Like these are things that are legitimate problems that you think you're going to be the overnight success, and then you're still working and driving that direction, and it's all good work. So let's shift gears a little bit. I guess it's uh, when thinking about the program like Velocity, you've been part of programs in the past. We're about halfway through the program at the current moment, maybe a little over halfway. What are the things that you guys are hoping the end of this program brings for Orobio? Where are you hoping to be driving the business at that point?
Yeah, I really appreciate you asking. Um, well, I think first just kind of go back to a point I made a moment ago in that our next major milestone, that which I think is really going to unlock the future growth and success and sustainability of our company, is that kilogram scale pilot. And Um, Even with capital, that's really not something that you can do alone.
Mhm.
You probably see what I'm building to here, in saying that I think with partnerships and collaborators being really essential to the success of the pilot, given the not just proximity, but the connectedness and interwovenness of Agronovis, Venture Velocity, and especially obviously the Indiana grower and processor ecosystem. I'm really hoping that we can continue to make meaningful connections in the ecosystem, and specifically with the again, processors, upstream, and then maybe some of the more vertically integrated groups, in consideration of the downstream success of our pilot. Um, and plug in and make an impact, and hopefully a success case and story for Indiana's ag bio ecosystem as well. Um, if we could get that done before the program ends, I think that'd put us in a pretty good position to win the prize too.
For sure.
But I also, I know how long some of this stuff takes. So even if we could set up some of those conversations for what'll come beyond the program, I think that would be really ideal.
I love that. And it already leads me to what is going to be my last question for this conversation. So you've begun, but let's double click in and be even more specific for our listeners. We've got a group of listeners that range everywhere from folks that are on farm to corporations that may be able to have partnerships or be able to help as you move forward. If they're listening to this right now, who are the people that, like, if I could talk to them tomorrow, it might change the trajectory of Orobio and our business. Can you give a couple shout outs of who those people might be that could really level things up?
I can, yeah, and I think Jeff, you probably already know the answer. I appreciate you asking this just about every week or every other week. Yeah, I think just to give a little bit more context on the technology, what I hadn't said so far is that we're trying to build our technology upon the principle and use of waste-based or waste-derived feedstocks, particularly organic waste, and that's where our interest in not only speaking with, learning from, but hopefully collaborating with food and ag processors, off taking their waste streams and testing them in our process, is one of the uh, collaborator profiles or ideal collaborators that we'd be looking to speak with, or again, even just learn more about the industry dynamics from. And that's what I referred to before as upstream.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, In stream, we're fortunate to have support from the Center for Dairy Research in Wisconsin, who's going to be providing the initial fermentation capacity that we need. But that's just one small step, or just a small 500 liters in the bucket. So anybody that could help us actually do the pilot, provide the infrastructure or funding in order to help us develop our own, would also be a great partner, a great group to speak with, a group of people to speak with. And then last, I think, well, there's probably more, but to wrap us up, would be either those plastic converters and brands that are trying to make a push into more sustainable materials, or the food and ag processors who have some influence over the products and packaging they're using on farm, on site, or in their packaging, for example, and to work with those groups to conceptualize and develop bio-based and biodegradable products and packaging from our materials, as well as other biomaterials out there. So yeah, I think again, I could always go on. We could always use more help, and so I'll leave it open ended in that if you find our business interesting or anything that we're talking about, please do click in, or please do inquire, reach out. I'm always happy just to share my knowledge. Would love to chat more about any of those things I just mentioned. And Jeff, I'll hand it back to you to, I think, wrap us up.
That's awesome, Alec. And yes, echoing what Alec just said, if you are listening to this right now and think you might have a great connection, might be a potential customer or a potential partner in this journey with Ourobio and Alec and the team, you'll be able to contact the Agronovus team, myself, through links in the description of this podcast. And we would love to help get you connected to Alec and the team as they move forward. Alec, thank you for taking the time today. We are so thankful you're part of this ecosystem and thankful for the work that you're doing and look forward to seeing, hopefully, that big win at the end of this program and the success that you have in store. Have a great rest of your day and thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you so much, Jeff. You as well.